So honestly, I think the reason I even went to law school was more just like ego driven. Like I didn't want to just be in a normal degree. Like I wanted to be like kind of at the top of what I had done like I was previously. So I didn't do very well my first and second year of school. And I actually applied to business school, a really good business school at Western. It's like probably one of the top ones in Canada. It's called Ivy Business. And I didn't get in there. So I thought like, what else can I really do here? So I'm not sure if you're familiar with the term like shadow career. So I always knew ever since a young age, I wanted to do business. I didn't know my issue was I didn't know where to start. So I knew I wanted to do business.
Why do you say that? Like, were there people in your life that were in business that were influences, or you just kind of were always drawn to it?
Never. Yeah, I never had any family or anything do business at all. Just kind of, I think, not sure if you're familiar with like Andy Frisella.
Yeah,
I was listening to his podcast like literally like right when it came out, like the MFCO project it was called. Yep. So ever since then, I would always read books like Tim Ferriss, like the personal development stuff I was into at like 15, 16. So I always knew from that I wanted to do business, but I didn't know what that would look like. So for me, like being a corporate lawyer was like shadow for wanting to do business. Like, oh, I don't know to do business, I'll just be a corporate lawyer. So that was kind of how that started. Always kind of knew in my gut that it wasn't right. And how law school works is law school's 3 years. So in your second year, you do your law recruit to get your job. So you get the job in your second year. After your second year, you work at the firm for the summer. Then you go back for your third year, and then you go full-time at the firm you summered at previously. So I got the job in second year at a really good firm in Toronto on Bay Street as a corporate lawyer. I did the summer, and I can kind of see what these people's lives look like. So we have like, essentially if you think of a Slack for the firm, you can see when people are online and stuff. All the people were like working every night till 10 p.m. and not like making good money, but like no life whatsoever. So I kind of saw that, and that kind of reaffirmed that like this isn't really what I want to do. And after that summer, there was a 6-week gap between that summer finishing as a law student and my third year school starting. So I asked the firm like, hey, I've been taking out all these loans to go to law school. Is there any way I can work during the year to help like pay this back? And they're like, no, because if we offer it to you, we'll have to offer it to all the students. So I thought, okay, like what am I going to do? And that's when I actually started my e-com store. And it took off quite quickly. So I think in my third month, we were doing like $250K in sales, and I was making way more from that in the third month that I was going to make as a lawyer.
Third month?
Yeah.
$250K a month in your third month?
Yeah. Which,
wow.
Honestly,
were you following someone's advice, or were you just freestyling?
I bought like an info product. Not a great info product, but I honestly got a bit lucky. So to this day, the first supplier of like products, it's like saunas and stuff that I closed, that I made my first sale with, that to this day is my best supplier. So I got lucky having them early on, and that's what allowed it to scale so quickly. So by the third or fourth month, I was making more from that than I was going to make from law. So I talked to my parents in like December. I said like, hey, I want to drop out. And they said, no, like go back, finish your final semester. You can do it after. And I did go back for a month or two, and it was just taking up too much time, headspace. I just dropped out. I didn't even want the degree by that point. So I just kind of went all in.
Damn.
Yeah.
So you couldn't survive like another 2 months and just get the degree?
It was more like symbolic for me. Like I thought, it's not like I didn't take anything in law school. Like it really helps with writing, with like structuring arguments, with like being a business person overall, because I was working with like lots of high-end companies and stuff. Yeah, so really helpful that way. But for me, the degree was like, I didn't want to have the cop-out. So if business got hard, I didn't want to have like a $150K a year job just sitting there wherever I wanted. So I thought, I've taken like the lessons from law school. I'd rather just, almost symbolic for me, like it's a commitment to just go all in on business. I've taken what I need from it. I don't need the piece of paper that.
Yeah, and it's almost like the further you go in, the further the hole gets. Like you're just digging yourself your own grave, essentially. If you know that you don't want to do this
exactly
long term, so like even another month or another year in school would have just made it that much harder to leave.
Eats away at you when you're there. Like you know you're just doing something that's not aligned with what you want, and it kind of just eats away at you. So for me, it was just like all in on business.
How much debt did you take on?
Over 100K Canadian. Yeah, 100. Yeah, 100.
You paid it off all by now, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's awesome.
Dude, that's such a baller decision, though. It's like, okay, I have 2 or 3 months of law school left, and I'm not, if I want to go all in on entrepreneurship, I'm just going to cut ties and not give myself that safety net, essentially.
That was my
that was the thought process?
Yeah, it was just like, I'm going to go all in on this. And then it was like, for me, as you I'm sure know, when you don't have any choice but to make it work, you usually find a way to make it work. That's what I wanted to do for myself, and it turned out well.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed this short clip, check out the full interview here. And if you want to see more clips from this episode, check it out right here.